Hello and welcome to Inside Backyard Jam, the show where we look at everything to do with the show itself. As we head into World Finals, it's time we look ahead to the trucks that will be competing in the competition. And to do that, to help break it down, I have here with me Charlie from Off Track Productions and the driver of the Uproar truck. Charlie, welcome back to Backyard Jam. It's been a while.
It has been, from my exploits that we'll get to in a little bit to, just lifing. It's been a while since I've been in the commentary booth, so I'm definitely very happy to be back in.
Charlie, this year, the World Finals for Backyard Jam features more trucks than last year. The 24 truck lineup is here for World Finals 2. And what do you think of some of the competitors that are in so far? Just general thoughts, first of all, without sort of focusing on any in particular.
Yeah, without going into a lot of particulars, I will say, of course, you do have some familiar faces, some established guard, but what I really like about this lineup is it's also a lot of newer faces, a lot of newer folks that really got to show what they're made of this year. Not just with the expanded lineup, but just even if we kept it to the same number of trucks, probably still would have been in anyway. So I always like seeing, some new blood in the lineup just to kind of see who's going to etch their name in the history books.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll kick things off with the order in which trucks were announced for World Finals. So we're looking at the first card first of all. We'll get to the second a little bit later on in the show. So we have competing in the main event Gravedigger driven by Cyclops Hobbies, El Toro Loco driven by Shane Stoddle, Jurassic Attack driven by Hunter Craddock, Brodozer driven by Elliot Spiros, Captain America driven by Little Chip Chocolate, Son of a Digger driven by Ryan Davis, Back Again Dragonoid driven by Rexy Chris, Kraken driven by Spanky, Monster Mutt Rottweiler driven by Caden Wilson, Northern Nightmare driven by Rod Rod, JCB Diggertron driven by Steve Calabrese, and Blue Thunder driven by Chip Chocolate. Starting then with Cyclops Hobbies Gravedigger, kicked off the year like he'd never left. He was our series points champion of 2024, came into this one, got the upgrade to the seat of Gravedigger, and won his first event out.
Yeah, this has definitely been a good year for him. There was a lot of high expectations being placed in such a prestigious name. And while I would say, the season may not have gone his way entirely, it's also like saying that, making an A plus to a B is a bad thing. Like it's still good overall. I do have to imagine, though, he wants to end this year on a strong note just to show that that first win was not a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting as well that he and Ryan Davis got a new piece of kit under them, sort of 3 events, 4 events into the year. Uh, they had brand new chassis and they had some teething issues with them. I know Son of a Digger in their first event out with the new chassis managed to deck the truck, roll it over, smashing his front end, and he ran like that for a couple of events because it was freestyle, and why would you bother fixing that sort of thing when you're going in to wreck the truck anyway? So it may be some teething issues there. Hopefully got over the gremlins and is ready to run here in World Finals. Of course, same month out, Shane Stoddle on Series Red in El Toro Loco, new in for Backyard Jam. Shane has been a fan of it in its sort of early beginnings, and then came into the season with El Toro Loco Yellow, and managed to punch his ticket straight away as well.
Yeah, and for someone again, kind of like the opposite of what we saw from Cyclops Hobbies, someone that's new to this field, new to this tour, to come out and make a statement victory your first time out definitely turns some heads. Again, kind of in a similar vein, the season did start to peter out at a point, but I still think though making that statement victory definitely showed the talent and potential is there. It's just when the truck does hold up, and as we saw in the Fire and Ice special, sometimes it doesn't quite hold up, but when it
Yeah.
does, it runs really well.
I'm glad you mentioned the Fire and Ice event because that sort of segues us on quite nicely to our next truck, which is Hunter Craddock in Jurassic Attack, the racing winner of the 32 truck bracket. Absolutely grueling competition to get through to manage to get to the win. But yeah, Hunter Craddock, he also joined us this season. I said very start of the year in our first Inside Backyard Jam, this is a truck to look out for, this is a driver to look out for. And sure enough, there he was, top of the pile.
Yeah, Jurassic Attack last year didn't quite have the year they were looking for, finished more towards the bottom. I definitely felt like this was a truck that, when it got the right driver combination, would be a massive threat. And this definitely proved it tenfold. To win a 32 truck bracket, an absolute gauntlet like that is nothing short of impressive.
Yeah, absolutely right. And he will be competing alongside the brother of who drove uh, Jurassic Attack last year, Elliot Spiros, who we're going back to the regular season here very briefly. Changed trucks this year to Brodozer from Jester. He came second last year, came into Brodozer, got an event win early doors, and was up there in the upper echelons of the tables each and every event out. He did very well this season, I think.
Yeah, very consistent. I know when we get a little bit further along this list, we're going to get to the two most dominant drivers, I feel, but
Hmm.
he always kept his name in the conversation. May not have always resulted in a win, but especially in a format like this, it's not always about wins, it's about consistency. And I think he's a great example of demonstrating that consistency.
Yeah, well, right up until the very last event for Series Red, Elliot Spiros and Brodozer were in the running to get the Series Points Championship. Of course, that was taken away by Steve, who we'll talk about in just a little bit. But yeah, always consistent. Had a struggle at World Finals last year, and is going to be hoping to find his groove this year, I think.
Absolutely.
Heading back to Fire versus Ice and the showdown, Captain America Little Chip Chocolate, the winner of our shootout, 16 trucks, who left the competition early in night one, obviously went into night two racing. Little Chip Chocolate, last year's LCQ champion, came out on top.
Yeah, again, another one, second year out, really showing a lot of marked improvements in this truck, and especially for both members of this team, they've really shown themselves to be one of the best fleets here in Backyard Jam.
Yeah, Captain America is another one who was always in the conversation, not quite near the top, but sort of upper mid pack, I would say, and did quite well on the regular season. Not as well as I think they'd hoped, but they'd already shown what they could do in that shootout, and yeah, they were very good in that, very consistent top driver in that event. We will come back to the Fire and Ice event in just a little bit because we have two trucks here on the regular season who were always performing well. Firstly, Ryan Davis in Son of a Digger. As I said, got that new piece under him uh, and managed to crash it quite promptly after. But before that, he managed to take an event win on Series Blue.
Yeah, Ryan, I will give him this, right? Is he probably has been one of the most entertaining drivers this whole season. We got a truck with as much prestige as Son of a Digger. You got to make sure you're laying down, if you're not in the winner circle, you're at least being remembered. And he did a phenomenal job of that. That new piece, yeah, like you said, had some teething issues, but my God, he was not afraid to absolutely destroy that truck, even when it was fresh out of the box.
Yeah, absolutely right. Son of a Digger, of course, won, followed by a win on Series Red by Rexy Chris in Back Again Dragonoid. Now, this is a truck that last year won at the Backyard 500 with an overall very consistent. Rexy Chris managed to punch that one stage further and get an event win with it. And of course, him coming in as a new driver to the channel, that's quite an achievement in itself.
It is. And, even multiple times he was really, really close. He was one of those drivers that you felt like you knew had the potential. It just need to have the right time. And he definitely showed that. Again, kind of saying we talked about with, Brodozer a few minutes ago, is consistency is so important in this field. And he's done a phenomenal job demonstrating that.
Now, there were two types of freestyle in the Fire and Ice event. This next driver was at the Definite ragged edge of that, I think. Kraken Spanky had one of the weirdest, strangest moves I have seen on that backflip ramp in a good long while. And yeah, that was impressive. Managed to get the freestyle joint win. We'll talk about who he got it with in just a little bit. But what do you make of Spanky?
Yeah, I mean, being as entertaining, I think the one benefit of the World Finals is, a lot of times in Backyard Jam, it's just been racing, but having a freestyle championship as well means even if you're not, known as a racer, you still have an opportunity to, crack a to get a crack at the title. And I think he's got a good shot at it. I know it's going to be colder, so I don't know if there's going to be any water elements this time around, but if there is, I do hope at least the squid ends up taking advantage of that.
Yeah, we don't yet know the lineup of the track layout, I should say, for World Finals. That will be announced at a later date. But uh, Kraken looked good in freestyle at that event. Struggled a little bit at the more recent Summer Speedway event in freestyle, but will be wanting retribution for that, I'm sure. As we move on, this driver, I think, shocked everyone. Had a really quite poor performance. I think they would agree with that in 2024. And then they look to be struggling at the start of this year as well. And then the turnaround of the season, I think, because Monster Mutt Rottweiler didn't win just one event, won two, and the overall points championship. Caden Wilson, Monster Mutt Rottweiler, Charlie, talk us through him.
Yeah, if there was an award for the breakout driver of the season, it definitely would be him. He got, again, kind of like we talked about Digger and Son of a Digger, a new chassis, but unlike that, that thing seemed to suit him so well. I mean, it seemed like, especially there in that summer stretch, he was untouchable. He
Mm.
really made that charge ahead that really showed, this is one to watch. He's got a massive crown, the second one, I think, for the Mutts, if I'm remembered correctly. But I know he wants to go one step further and capstone what has been an absolutely historic, phenomenal season, and one I know he definitely will not forget.
Yeah, absolutely. You are absolutely right as well. Yeah, Monster Mutt, Mikey Merton with the most titles on the channel, and then Caden for the Mutts at least is second in that. And I am proud to announce that the Monster Mutts will be driving, featuring the Mercury bodies for this event, which will be really good fun to see. Of course, it's been a little while since we've seen both Mercury Mutts, Monster Mutt, and the Mercury Monster Mutt Rottweiler as well. So it'll be fun to see those two on the track. Now, going back to freestyle in the Fire and Ice, Northern Nightmare Rod was the other end of the spectrum. The calm, cool, calculated, had all of the issues in the world in racing events, didn't make it out for the shootout even. There he was freestyle and managed to rip this truck across the track. Great distances and a picture perfect backflip. Got all of the points in the world, tied with Spanky for that freestyle win.
Yeah, I mean, this is someone who, I think it's been a bit underrated this year. Has had, of course, issues, and when you have a year-long season like this, it can really take a toll on not only the trucks but also the drivers. But also, too, I mean, he kept his name in the conversation. I think it definitely was needed to have a win like this. If it wasn't for that, I think he would have definitely slotted really well in LCQ. But he definitely did a phenomenal job to make sure he didn't need any of that.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, somebody who, well, we don't really need to introduce him because he won two events, won the overall points championship, and had the most points out of anyone on the regular season 2025. Steve Calabrese, JCB Digatron, really came to show what he could do. Obviously, started the year in Earthshaker, transferred into the Digatron truck. Everyone was concerned, starting the season in one truck, having to learn a new one. Put all of those worries to bed in that final event where he won once again.
Yeah, I know people were worried, but you got to think, right? To have a company like JCB have enough faith in him as a driver to unveil this truck, to pick him to drive it, indicates a level of faith that they have in him and his abilities. And he really, really showed it this year. I mean, like you said, the most dominant driver, the most consistent one out there. He's really going to be one to watch. We're not betting people, but if we were, I definitely think him walking away with at least one title would be a very safe bet.
Well, that's what I was going to go on to say. The freestyles from Steve Calabrese from the very beginning have been wild, unpredictable, but always entertaining. And I think he's been a little bit sort of hit and miss on the points because he does some incredible moves, doesn't quite get the distance because of it. We saw in his first event out in JCB Digatron, he got a good distance on his second run, did not land on the wheels he needed to. In fact, landed on the side of his truck, up in smoke. But God, it was entertaining. And Steve is always a threat on the track, racing, freestyle, whatever he's doing. He is going to be competing in high jump this year as well, so he could, in theory, walk away with all three.
That is true, which that's going to be an exciting prospect.
Now, our final driver on this card, there is an announcement coming with him. Chip Chocolate Blue Thunder will be driving a brand new look for this event and unveiling it for the very first time here. Charlie, this is the new look, Blue Thunder.
Oh, that's nice. If you're an old school Monster Jam fan, a fan from like, the 2000s, like myself, this will absolutely, hit a chord of nostalgia. It'll absolutely warm your heart. That looks phenomenal. Back to, Chip Chocolate himself. Again, very strong. Like this team, like I said, they've been phenomenal all year. And bringing it back, old school, going back to the Built for Tough days, that's going to really, I think, regardless of how it goes, really make something special for these Backyard Jam fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chip Chocolate, as you were saying, was doing very well all season long. Came top five, fifth place in Series Blue, with several good events for him. Obviously, he got the big win in freestyle on Series Blue, where he pulled off the incredible, not just a backflip, but it had a twist. He managed to land the save of the year potentially. Blue Thunder, Chip Chocolate is going to be a threat on that freestyle field, but don't rule him out in racing either because he has been seemingly quite consistent this year.
He absolutely has been.
From one card to another, it is time to announce the trucks joining these 12 on the track for the World Finals main event. And announcing for the very first time three trucks that haven't already been. We will go through them in just a moment, but going through them in order: Vendetta, Jason Craddock; Bad Company, Sawyer Ramsdell; Slinger, Tim Campwell; Uproar, Charlie Hubbard; Bigfoot, Mitch Brown; Monster Mutt Dalmatian, Violet Craddock; Whiplash, Gina Clark; Bro Camino, Ian Spiros; and the defending champions of last year, Velociraptor Orange, Cody Privet; and Monster Mutt, Mikey Merton. They will also be joined by the LCQ winner and second place trucks. Charlie, very big to announce: Monster Mutt Dalmatian, Whiplash, and Bro Camino. Those three were the secret. They're the surprise. They have made it. They have a berth to World Finals. They will also be finding out through this video. So what words of wisdom have you on these three?
Well, firstly, I'm the wrong person to ask for any wisdom. I'll get to that here in a minute, but I would definitely say, regardless of whatever happens to the three of them, to get to this point is nothing short of a huge accomplishment. And, it really shows that even if you don't end up chalking up a win, again, like I've been saying throughout this video, consistency is key. You get a lifeline. You get to show, even if you don't end up with a trophy, if you show that you have the strength, you have the tenacity, that it can still pay off.
Yeah, so going through the criteria of these three making it in, it's a combination of their overall points and the power rankings that have been happening in the background for this series. So Monster Mutt Dalmatian came in off the back of another team leaving the series, adopted one of those drivers' points and managed to get in off of those merits, but also their own merits, because Violet came in third place, or in the top four, I should say, in the final event out, scored very well. 50 points in the freestyle for Series Red. So, really did show that she wasn't just picking up after somebody else. She had it in her to do well in the series. Gina Clark was then a few points behind on 140 points in the end, in sixth place on her part of the tour. But if you look at the points up against Series Reds, then she would have been in the top five on that tour. And then with 130 points, Bro Camino in fifth place on the tour, which is a great consistent run all year long for them. Ian Spiros picking up after last year, driving Jurassic Attack, managed to really turn it around this year in Bro Camino.
Yeah, again, like some really strong talent here. And especially, you know, this is a huge opportunity to show why they deserve this spot, like, why they got this berth. And who knows, they're definitely going to be the dark horses, or I guess in one of these cases, a dark dog, but just to show what they're made of.
Going through the rest of the lineup on this card, then Jason Craddock Vendetta, another 32 truck bracket in overdrive, did very well to make it through that. He was consistent during Fire and Ice as well. He was the last Team Fire remaining for the 32 racing bracket. He has been one of the best racers in side events this year, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done a remarkable job this year. And again, like I said, for Jurassic Attack, to make it through a 32 truck gauntlet is nothing short of impressive. It's such a slog because you have so many rounds, so many, places for losing, places for the trucks to break, wherever. But he kept that thing running so well that I think for a bigger bracket like this, it could end up working in his favor.
The next truck on here, Sawyer Ramsdale, Bad Company, also a latecomer to the series, taking over for another driver. But first event out freestyle, ripped it in that event and managed to corkscrew his way to the overall event win there.
Yeah, a phenomenal freestyle, one of the best of the year. And it definitely comes down to timing. Maybe not someone that we expected to be in, but he got the opportunity and he made the most of it.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I'm excited to see what Sawyer can do going forwards. He will be competing. You will have seen by now the Throttle Thriller event. I'm not going to reveal here who wins that. So if you haven't seen that, go and see that. But watch out for Sawyer in that event as well. It's good to watch. Slinger, Tim Campwell came in for one event and one event only. Won racing against yourself, Charlie, and then won the overall as well, with possibly up there with one of the best freestyles of the year, alongside yourself, of course. We might as well say now, Uproar, the next truck along, Charlie Hubbard. You made it to World Finals.
Yeah, a shock, a welcome one, but it was definitely a shock for me.
Let's
You
talk
know,
about Tim first, shall we? Let's we'll put your shock aside for a second. Tim Campwell is a veteran of the MTA circuit, has been on the diecast racing scene for a very long time, joined us for Backyard Jam at long last. And Slinger was the truck he did it in. He was unstoppable in racing, I would say.
yeah, I talked to him a little bit during that bracket, and that truck is absolutely mad fast. It's a very lean machine. It goes so well, and he said he felt really confident going into that bracket, and he definitely showed, why that truck really translates for him well.
And then in freestyle, I think he managed to be up on two tires more than he was down on four. He had one of the most spectacular nose dives on his second pass, and then just couldn't quite land the backflip. By that point, the body was loose, and he buried the thing.
Yeah, he absolutely made sure that that truck did not leave the track in the same place.
On speaking of that freestyle, Charlie, your freestyle run with the skills combination move, I think, is what pushed you over the edge to get the win? Because it's been a while of me watching freestyle in the diecast scene, and I've never seen a truck do that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is I didn't even have a plan for that. I think it was just more so really I miscalculated that jump a little bit. I was on the wheels. I'm like, okay, well, just trying to tap the throttle to make sure it would land. And, I didn't really know what I did until I watched it back, but it definitely looked pretty cool watching it back over. In the moment I was honestly terrified, but it seemed to work out.
It surely did. You had a couple of great passes, and then the backflip landing it just to put the cherry on the cake there. And yeah, incredible freestyle pass by yourself, and you have made it to World Finals. You said earlier you're not the person to talk to about strategy. I'm guessing that the accidental move almost of making the best out of a bad situation was what earned you the win, really.
Yeah, I mean, my whole intention there was just, I finally got to see Uproar, come out. I've been waiting for this truck to be ready for a long time. I just wanted to go out, have some fun, and here we are.
Well, that's the good news. You get to have more fun in World Finals, Charlie. So we look forward to seeing Uproar on the track. You've got stiff opposition, though. The next truck along, this driver was ever the bridesmaid, never the bride until that final event. Bigfoot, second in three events and won one. I think possibly could have been up there in the running had Caden Wilson not been quite so dominant on Series Blue. That Bigfoot stood a chance of winning this season, I think.
Yeah, the 50th anniversary of Bigfoot, a huge, huge statement. And really, when you take aside, Caden's domination, it really showed how strong this Bigfoot team is, even 50 years in, with Mitch behind the wheel. He was very, especially in that early stage, very strong, kept the truck exactly where it needs to. I think he was waiting to punch his ticket, but when he did, it was very well deserved.
And of course, you have known by now, audience, that the Bigfoot that will be running on the track for this event is this lovely black and gold number that will be debuting here on the channel. But that's not all. Bigfoot will also be the star of this year's World Finals encore stunt, the Bigfoot 50 stunt, which of course will be in memory of Dan Runte, of course. Mitch Brown representing will be performing the stunt. There will be several other Bigfoots on the track, but this Bigfoot will be his ride for the main event.
Yeah, and definitely very fitting, for so many of us that are competing here in Backyard Jam. We grew up watching Dan Runte absolutely tear it up every weekend in Bigfoot. So, it's definitely going to be one very emotional, but I think one that's going to be very fitting for a man as legendary as he is and the legacy he has.
Well, hopefully, a legendary enough stunt to fit the legendary Dan Runte. We wish Mitch Brown all the best of luck in both World Finals and in that stunt, of course. And we look forward to seeing all the Bigfoots hitting the track at the same time. Uh, we've spoken about the three, so we will move on to the two champions from last year who are coming back to defend titles, one of which has not competed until the Throttle Thriller event. Again, go and watch that event to see what happens there. But let's start off with Cody Privet, Velociraptor Orange. He will be defending his racing championship here this year.
Yeah, and I think a question to be on a lot of people's mind is being gone for as long as he has, is that going to hurt his ability to defend the title? It definitely, especially with the level of competition that's shown this year versus last year, I gotta imagine it's causing some nerves. We'll see whether or not that translates on the track.
Yeah, and then similar situation, but not quite the same. Has had the year of competition, but not the year I think he expected. Mikey Merton, Monster Mutt, managed to pull it out of the bag at the very end of the season, coming second in the final event out. But yeah, Monster Mutt struggled this year.
They really did. I mean, especially compared to, its Rottweiler counterpart. I definitely think it's a bit of a championship hangover, as I call in the NASCAR community. But, it's one of those things where having the title definitely helps, at least, give you some protection coming back. But I know he really wants to show that this is not a one off. This is not what people call, a Mickey Mouse champion where that whole win was a fluke.
Yeah, so he will be coming back to defend his freestyle championship. Had a bit of a struggle in freestyle, I must admit, earlier in the year. Came dead last in one of those freestyle runs in Series Red. But yeah, he will be wanting not only vindication for that event, I think, but also he will be wanting to prove that he's not just a target, he is a threat.
Absolutely.
We will come back to LCQ in just a moment, but first of all, let us have a look at who will be competing in this year's high jump competition. This year, it will be Spooky in the brand new Avenger Neon, Bigfoot, Mitch Brown, Brodozer, Elliot Spiros, JCB Diggatron, Steve Calabrese, Gravedigger the Legend, Matt Cheever, Kingsling, John Ritchie, Monster Mutt Rottweiler, Caden Wilson, and Son of a Digger, Ryan Davis. Who do you like from that field, Charlie, for the high jump competition?
Honestly, I gotta say it's either gonna be Matt or Ryan, are probably my two picks. I know we have the two series champions here, but the thing with high jump that makes it different is in racing, you kind of want to keep low. You want to keep the truck, low to the ground, just so that way you don't lose momentum. With high jump, you want to sky that thing out as high as possible, regardless of how the truck's gonna land. And I think those two are the best when it comes to they're going to sky it out regardless of how much more damage is going to come on the landing.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Cheever is notorious for rolling the truck over, but this year has also had some great racing wins in the rest of the diecast racing world over on MTA. Myself and he have been battling back and forth 1 month, actually. He bested me in wins in the end. So I'm excited to see what Matt Cheever can bring. It's always a little bit of fun when the Shaggy Magic hits the track. And then, of course, as you said, Ryan Davis, son of a digger, that truck has been on a tear this year. But I do want to mention Kingsling here, John Ritchie, who I believe has the highest jump on the season this year in competition in his freestyle run. He absolutely sent that thing, which is what earned him a spot here in high jump. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And and you would think, right, not being in the main competition for something like this can be a negative, but actually it may end up being a positive because, for three trucks out of this field, they're not going to have to deal with all of the wear and tear that the rest of the bracket, the rest of the competitions can bring. So they'll have, fresh trucks to absolutely send versus for the rest of the field where there's going to be some wear and tear on them.
Yeah, definitely so. Although for one of them, there's a chance that they might get in. As I said, the top two in LCQ will make it through to the main field. And the lineup for that LCQ is very exciting as well. Let's run through it. Amazing Spider-Man, Rainbow X, Avenger, and Spooky here as well. Thunderorus Knox, Ian Phipps, Carolina Crusher, Steve Jones, Crushstation, Garrett Christensen, Pirates Curse, Wegner Racer. Megalodon Fire, Dominic Alexander, Monster Mutt Husky, James Wilson, Radiator, Walker Stevens, Velociraptor Blue, Dolphin Master, Recreation, Oliver Stapley, and Bog Hog, Wyatt Curtis. These drivers have all done very well on the season as well. Not quite got the event wins, but have come consistently top four or have finished in the top echelons of the power rankings or of the series points. Lots to juggle here. So starting off with the Amazing Spider-Man Rainbow X, Charlie.
Yeah, and this is one that honestly I feel like could have gone either way. He's had some very strong performances this year, especially when he had the black and white design. He looked mad fast in that thing. I think it was just a hair under what was needed to get into the main field, but I'll be honest, looking at this lineup, he's probably him and I'll go ahead and spoil it, Bog Hog. are my two picks to get those two final spots.
Very interesting. I'm going to save my picks until the end of the segment, but it's very interesting to hear those two as your choices. I'll be interested to hear why for Wyatt Curtis in just a little bit. Let's talk again about Avenger and Spooky, this very cool neon body that's debuting on the track for this event. Of course, Avenger debuts a new look every year at World Finals. We're no different here. He's got a very cool new look to debut for us.
Yeah, this thing looks absolutely phenomenal. Again, like you said, it's tradition. Avenger always has a new look every year, and I think this one is definitely looking very, very strong. Again, another truck, another driver that came in a little bit later in the season, but with the limited time he had, really made a statement.
Yeah, I mean, he came top four in the final event of the season, but not just that, he came top four in overdrive as well, that 32 truck bracket. To come in, that was his first ever event with us in this truck anyway, I think. Unless he might have done one earlier in the year for Fire and Ice, actually. Yes, he did. But to come through a 32 truck bracket, to make it to top four in his first year of competition, still, it's pretty good going from Spooky.
Absolutely, And again, he's got that high jump as well. So even if this doesn't turn out, hey, it's okay. He's still got an opportunity to really show and strut his stuff.
When moving along, Ian Phipps, they call him the Madman. Thunderorus Knox. This truck has been awesome to watch as well. This was very fast at the Overdrive event. He did incredibly well in the Summer Speedway event as well. What can you say about Ian Phipps? Of course, you've been with him on the track as well.
Yeah, again, like you said, a very entertaining driver, and that truck looked so, so sleek. It's even better up close, honestly. But someone that, again, I think really can show the entertainment factor. I think the one thing that's kind of bitten him is being able to keep it to where it's entertaining, but also consistent. But
Mm.
when he's on, he is on.
Well, speaking of people who are on when they're on, Carolina Crusher Steve Jones, he really struggled in racing this year after the truck made its debut in March. But despite that, managed to come away in the top end of the bracket for the freestyle at Fire versus Ice. He also finished in the top four at that very last racing event. Really woke up finally. The Carolina Crusher showed us what that thing could do. So I think he's actually starting to peak at the right time.
Yeah, and like you said, right, this has been a rough season for him. Having someone who, is behind the biggest diecast racing channel was a huge story heading into this year. And I know the expectations were really high. And I don't know, part of that makes me wonder if that pressure got to him. And it only was when things cooled off and when he started to really get acclimated, did he start coming to his own. But, this is a truck that really, I think everybody wants to see have that breakthrough win. He's got the capability, he's got the equipment. It's just trying to get that night for everything to line up.
Somebody who was a one and done this year, Garrett Christensen in Crush Station came in for the Summer Speedway event. And I think he's got to this stage based off of the merits of his freestyle run, which was very, very good for a brand newcomer.
It absolutely was. Again, like I talked about cracking with the water, it made sense for Crush Station with that water element. This is a truck that is a fan favorite, and it really shows a lot to have just one event, but it be enough to make that much of a statement. We'll see if that inexperience will end up to his benefit or to his detriment. But one thing's for sure, he definitely delivered.
And one driver who was in a battle in the background of the season that I don't think many people were aware of is Wegner Racer in the Pirates Curse. He made it to World Finals last year based off the merits of a freestyle run. He's made it to LCQ this year, partially based on that, partially in the battle against Fuel Academy. It was one or the other who was going to make it to this point. Pirates Curse came out on top in points and therefore got the spot.
Yeah, and this is another guy who just really kept strong all season. Maybe not quite where it needs to, maybe a couple too many underperformances, but still someone that really kept his name in the conversation more times than not.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I'm excited to see what Pirates Curse does here. Wegner Racer really locked in last year when it got to the World Finals. Managed to take out the favorite in Cyclops Hobbies last year, if I remember correctly. So don't count him out because this driver is really quite something when it hits the track.
Absolutely.
Megalodon Fire, Dominic Alexander, awesome freestyle run in Fire versus Ice. He's keeping the fire. Look for the truck for this event, almost as a memento of that occasion. He really showed us what he could do on the track.
No, absolutely. And again, that's the one great thing about these special events is it gives drivers who are not in the regular season a time to really, show their stuff, show them what they're made of, and, potentially maybe even get a spot in the main field next year. But he really did a great job representing, what many consider one of the marquee trucks for the fire team and showed, that spicy tuna can definitely have a kick.
Yeah, absolutely right. I don't know if we've ever told the story of why he's driving the spicy tuna, but perhaps that's something for another time. Now I've teased it, I'll probably have to say at some point. It's all to do with fighting robots and fire. So I think you kind of get the idea there. Um, Monster Mutt Husky, another one of our one and dones. James Wilson came into the Overdrive event, came top four in that event, which again for a rookie coming in incredible feat that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes a lot to be someone new, see a track that intimidating, and yet still beat out even some seasoned guard, even the veterans. So I really am curious to see how he'll fare in this last chance qualifier. But again, we've got what, three of the mutts in. I think it'd be really good, it'd be really something really cool to see the whole dog packet represented.
Yeah, he's got racing in his veins as well. Obviously, his brother being Caden Wilson, who won his tour. So uh, there's a reason he's driving a mutt as well. There it is. Our next driver celebrating the fifth anniversary of Radiator, Walker Stevens, struggled quite a bit on the racing scene, but made up for that in freestyle. He came in the top four in the Series Red freestyle event. Charlie, what can you say about Walker Stevens and Radiator?
Yeah, this is someone who, really, I think, wants to show that he's got the full potential. He's got the ability to really show up and show out, you know, and the truck, especially for something that looks as phenomenal as that, I know he was really hoping for a lot of better performances this year. Hopefully, this last chance here will give him exactly what he needs to break through. But I definitely do know, like, if this doesn't pan out, he'll definitely be back looking stronger than ever.
Yeah, so he was in the main field last year in Axe, of course, and had a so-so showing there, but he got to that stage, which shows that he can do it. And I think he's just had some teething issues with the truck, or perhaps he's had some performance issues based on the pressure of it being the fifth anniversary and all. But this last chance qualifier, as you say, gives him the opportunity to show what he can do. So fingers crossed for Radiator. We'll see how he gets on. Velociraptor Blue is next up. Dolphin Master was in the top three in both racing and freestyle in the Summer Speedway event. Dolphin Master really showed that he was back and he was not messing around.
No, absolutely not. These two Velociraptor trucks really have shown this year they are very, very potent machines. When they get on that track, they absolutely fly. And while, not in the main event, I definitely would think it'd be cool to see both of them represent. I think actually, would that be the first time in Backyard Jam that the same truck would be in the World Finals with different schemes?
It would indeed, and I'm looking forward to seeing both of them side by side at the pit party. I'm sure everybody else will be excited to see them too. Going on, Oliver Stapley Recreation. He was here at LCQ last year, as was Dolphin Master, actually. I glossed over that fact. But Oliver Stapley last year in Excalibur, this year in Recreation. The Tomfoolery trucks obviously making it to this stage both years, which is exciting in itself. But yeah, Oliver Stapley, what can you say?
This is someone who I think had a really good start to the year, but unfortunately just kind of lost some steam out. I know he really wants to end this year on a strong note. So hopefully this will definitely show. I mean, he's had some exciting moments, some wild moments, but it just hadn't quite translated into success yet.
Yeah, it's a very tricky truck to drive as well. Obviously, it's very top heavy, and he won't be as used to that. I think that's something he has struggled with this year. Actually, is the change from that Excalibur truck, which is very sort of standard kind of square body, flies down the track. It was always very fast, but this thing is quite large and cumbersome at times.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a handful to drive.
Well, going on to our final LCQ competitor then, Bog Hog Wyatt Curtis. This driver had a bit of a so-so season, finished mid-pack on the series, but had some good showings along the way. Charlie, this is one of your favorite two to win, so I'm going to throw it over to you. What do you see in Wyatt Curtis? Why do you think he should get to the main field?
I think it's just again that level of consistency and the familiarity with, that main straightaway with the track, that experience, I think really is going to help him here. He's someone that, again, while maybe not always at the top, I think has kept his name in the conversation more times than not. So I'm really hoping, he'll be able to get through and have that experience and that knowledge of the track work in his favor.
Well, he is one of the drivers that came over from last year in the same truck, remained in Bog Hog, and continued on. He made it to World Finals last year, got an event win last year, but I think it goes to show less about him not doing so well and more about the quality of the rest of the field improving. That he finished sort of mid pack this year on his season.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I would say, something that, maybe consider a downgrade, but, you know, again, I think that true potential is still in there all the same.
Well, I said I would come back round to my predictions on who is going to make it through. This is a tough choice for me. Um, a lot of these trucks could do very, very well off of this event, I think. But for me, the two that I am looking at most, Dolphin Master in Velociraptor Blue, I think had a really good showing at the Summer Speedway, has come in with a lot of pizzazz, a lot of passion, and could do very well out of it. And then it's a real toss up for me between Thunderous Knox and Monster Mutt Husky. I think either of those could do very well. They've been shown to be quite fast on the track. If they can keep consistent, I think that's the thing you mentioned earlier on for Ian Phipps. If he can keep consistent, he has a good run in him. So we will see what happens there. Charlie, sticking with Spider Man and Bog Hog.
You know what? I'm a man that doesn't make the best decisions, but I commit to them.
Very fair, very fair. So we will see who makes it through. Of course, as I said, the top two will make it through to the main field to join the rest of the trucks. We will see, Charlie, you on the track for World Finals. We wish you the best of luck. And for the rest of these drivers, we wish them the best of luck as well. LCQ will be coming towards the middle of November, and then towards the end of the month, World Finals 2 will broadcast on the Backyard Jam YouTube channel. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be an amazing event. Encores, surprises, some different schemes we haven't shown off in this video today. I'm excited for this World Finals. Charlie, are you excited for it?
I am excited and terrified.
I think that is a completely appropriate reaction to have. Thank you for joining me, Charlie, for this one. We will be back to review the World Finals as well in December. So a bit of a World Finals couple of months there. So look forward to more content on the way for World Finals here on the Backyard Jam channel. The road to the end starts here. We will see you for World Finals. Until then, I have been Jevan Woodrow.
And I've been Charlie from Off Track Productions.
We will see you very soon for World Finals 2. Goodbye.